always think that like, oh, I'm stupid, you know, like I'm dumb to the point where I can't even go into K2, like I have to do K2 twice. Hello everyone, my name is Benjamin, Ben for short. My ID is called Dyspraxia. It's also known as like the clumsiness disease, where they can like lose footing of something really easily, and it also really affects the step-by-step thinking in your brain as well. And like for some of my day-to-day living, it's very hard for me to like convey someone information, because I know the information, it's just that when it comes out of my mouth, it's like all jumbled up. And for me, that's actually a little bit difficult sometimes lah. I really didn't really understand why I also struggled with like spelling, like because like I saw everyone getting like what 5/5 for their spelling, then there's me who's like getting like what 3/5, 2/5, and I was like, my mom was also making me do tracing on like a sandpaper, so like to help with my apparently with whatever I had lah. You know, for O-level English, there's always this 15-mark section B summary question. Yeah, I think those were the things which I like actually really struggled with, because I had to like figure out like, oh wow, firstly the pointers, fix the language, and like stuff like that lah, if that makes sense. Yeah, that was something I really struggled with, because like dyspraxia does affect that. When I was in the classroom, I just didn't really understand what was going on. And like it was also a bit hard for me to follow classes sometimes.
What was the turning point that led you to getting diagnosed?
In kindergarten, the principal saw me struggling, and she was like, I think she had like what 20 years of experience in the early childhood sector, and she was like, this guy needs to go get checked out. And then my parents went to bring me out, and like lo and behold, I actually did have dyspraxia, and I also did have a few other IDs.
How did repeating a year in school influence the person you are and affect your maybe self-worth?
So the context was that my parents felt that it would be best if I did K2 another year. And they realized that actually that I wasn't really prepared for P1 yet. Back then, I didn't really understand what was going on. And my parents told me, oh, they forgot to sign me up for K2 or for P1. So I was like, me being my naive self, you know, thought it was like, okay, yeah, sure, you know, let's just go on with that. Yeah, I always wondered why I was 1 year older than my peers. Everyone will always ask me, actually, why am I 1 year older than other people? And I always told people that like, oh, it's because my parents like forgot to sign me up. But as I grew older, I knew like actually that's not like really possible. I think it really did affect my self-worth, because there will be like that sort of condemnation that wherever you go, you're always 1 year older than your peers. People always think that like, oh, I'm stupid, you know, like I'm dumb to the point where I can't even go into K2, like I have to do K2 twice. And it really did hurt lah. It really did affect my self-worth, and there was a lot of lies that were spoken into my life, where I felt that actually I'll never be good enough, you know. And those are things that were stuck with me for quite a while lah. And I never really understood why it had to happen to me, and I always blame myself. I always blame my parents for it, and it was never really a good feeling.
What helped you begin to see your setbacks not as failures but as a part of your journey towards your own personal success?
I think firstly, it comes with reconciliation. Growing up, I never really had the opportunity to be able to talk to my mom about it, and normally every time I talk to her about it, she would just brush it off. But I think as I grew older and I became more mature and became more self-aware, actually there was one day that me and her just sat down and we had a really long talk about why it happened. And personally for me, that was a really turning point in my relationship with her, because it was the point where I realized that actually it was really difficult for her to actually not make me go to P1, because you know there will always be so many other parents that will actually can just choose to send me over there and like let them die. But then instead they chose to hold back their pride. They chose to really choose what is actually best for me. But I never really saw that until I grew more older and I grew more mature, and I now know that it's actually the best thing for me lah, and I'll forever be appreciative of it. As you grow up, you know that actually 1 year really doesn't make a difference in your whole entire lifespan of 80 years. It's not like companies are going to look at and see like, oh, you retain K2, that's why we won't hire you. And I think it's really building up on the success. It's really building up on what I really have. Yeah, but to be honest, I'm still navigating through the hurt that was placed through this. But I'll rest at peace knowing that I'm doing well lah. Yeah.
Were there people who supported or believed in you throughout that journey, and how did that support look like and mean to you?
I think firstly definitely will have to be my parents. Probably without them I would never even know that like I have like all these like IDs and like etc. like that. So they are definitely the number one biggest supporters. They have supported me since birth and I couldn't really thank them enough. I think the second people that I would want to thank is the early intervention people. I think without them, I wouldn't have been able to come this far because I really did struggle a lot. I couldn't even summarize things properly. Like everything will always be jumping from one place to another, and that's how dyspraxia works. I think really growing up and seeing the work that they do is really so crazy lah, because the amount of work that they have to put into, the amount of things that we as other people don't really see what they have to go through is really quite insane. I also would like to thank my friends lah. Yeah, friends, especially friends who support you all the way, like especially when your parents can't really understand you, but then they can lend an offering ear. And I think that like them willing to journey out my own personal hurts, willing to journey out my own personal, however I felt throughout the previous years. Yeah.
What were some personal successes that you did achieve in spite of all these challenges and struggles?
One thing I would love to, I always tell myself is like, because I started playing table tennis, and for hand-eye coordination and for like any of these kinds of sports, like racket sports in general, that requires a lot of like critical, like you need to be a little bit more faster, and that's something I'm actually quite proud of myself. For me, it wasn't easy to start playing lah. The whole entire dyspraxia thing affected my body movement, right? It affected like how I swing my racket and like all those kinds of things. And like, yeah, so personally for me, I'm really happy that I actually managed to start that. And I'm also like, even though I'm not the best, I'm also not like super good. I'm like I somewhat know how to play. And I'm actually really proud of myself for that lah. That's something that I'm really glad that I managed to pick up over the past few years lah. Now I'm able to convey what I want to other people much more easily in real life. I'm able to speak more clearly, coherently, and I'm able to summarize things more easily for other people lah. So that's one thing that I'm really proud of myself for, even though that sounds a bit egoistical. But I think if you know like what I have struggled with, like if you have been in my shoes, that is something that you yourself will also be proud of. It's something that I would also like to work on. I mean, because no human is ever perfect. Each and everyone always have their own struggles. I think what matters is that we always continuously work on them. That we always continuously try to push for more. Even though sometimes it might be difficult, even though sometimes it might be tiring to always want to achieve betterness, if that even is a word. You should always continue it, because I think the fruits of your labor eventually will come to fruition.
What message would you want to give to others who are struggling with similar challenges, and especially for those who feel like they are falling behind?
Don't give up. My take is to never give up. When we always allow ourselves, to me, whenever I see other people, I always think to myself, actually, why do they always get things so much more easily? Why do they always think so much faster than me? And that really affected my self-worth a lot. That really affected actually, why am I stupid? Why am I this? Why am I that? My hope for you is that you'll come to a recognition that it is actually okay to be like that. Some of us get it faster, some of us don't get it as fast. Each of us have our own special, unique characters that we ourselves have. That everyone takes some time to learn to come up with coping mechanisms with our struggles. And I think that is okay. They are not defined by the labels that people have put on them, that they are not defined by the grades that they have. Their worth is not defined in anything that anyone says, but how they define themselves as well at the end of the day. And my final words will also be, don't fear to reach out to other people. That fear is only a hindrance to us. And that fear will stop us from becoming better, becoming even more fluent in the things that we do.